Freshly pressed 901 as part of Smooth Breakfast here this morning with Kayode Baker.
And Ayo Mairo Ese. And Lagos, you know what to do to be a part of our conversation. It's really simple. Reach out to us on WhatsApp. You can send your messages to 0809 444 We're also on Twitter. You can use the hashtag freshlypressed981 to be a part of the conversation. And your messages come to at smooth981 FM. We've got our very special analyst in the studio this morning.
This morning we have joining us Miss Ireti Bakare-Yusuf. Good morning, Miss Ireti.
Morning. So I'm still special, am I? Crikey.
Always.
Yeah, right.
Always special.
Yeah, right. Kayode. Yeah,
Yes,
right.
you are.
Yeah,
Well, you
right.
can follow the very special Miss Ireti.
You should
on
see Waji's
Twitter
face at this moment.
at CCOG Lagos. I'm talking about Waji. Waji is also here with us this morning. Good morning, Waji.
Good morning, Ayo, and good morning, Lagos.
And Nwaji is at the corporate MC with a K on Twitter, so please follow him there. And we have Tunde Okufi. Good morning, Tunde.
Morning, Ayo.
Good morning.
Lagos. Morning, Kayode.
And Tunde is at Tunde Okufi on Twitter. Just to let you know that we're streaming live.
At Big Cuffs.
Oh,
At Big Cuffs.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
Thank you. So at Big Cuffs, please. And it's actually on our Twitter page. So if you follow us at Smooth91 FM, you'd actually see their handles, so you can follow them easily, and also react to the stories directly to them as well. Just to let you know that we're live on YouTube, so you can watch us and you can send your messages through that platform as well. We're going to our first story for this morning. It's a Feel Good Friday. Some feel good stories, hopefully, in the news this morning. But we'll be starting off with this one in Premium Times. And Miss Ireti, ladies first, I'll come to you for this. Buhari launches pension plan for self-employed Nigerians. Good news.
Good news, but there's not lots of information in this story. It would be nice to have put a bit more flesh to it. In fact, it almost seems like it's gossip more so than a report, because all it says is Buhari launched the program by supervising the registration of a keke napep operator. I mean, seriously. Really, who does this? Premium Times, grow up. Come on, you're better than this. Literally, there's nothing to this story. There's nothing in it.
You're right when you say that. Unfortunately, Premium Times doesn't give much details as much as other newspapers. Like
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
That they didn't. Precisely what I said. Now, my thing here is that bit put aside, it is important. I think this is a great idea to have pension plan for self-employed. Look, it's not just the informal sector where you have loads of self-employed people who do not have pension plans.
Yes.
It's also in the formal sectors. You'd be surprised, a lot of entrepreneurs, even though the law says that they need to have a pension plan and a health insurance after they've reached a certain number of employees.
After 5 employees.
For after a certain number, I'm not quite sure. But even for themselves, they often put themselves last. You know, you have lots of one-man businesses that don't even have employees, that just have people working for them part-time. So this is really, really important, and it brings that to the consciousness. However, having said that, good news as it is, I know a stealth tax initiative when I see one. I know a government tax collecting initiative when I see one. Nigerians know when they see one. And this is one of those, because of course, the whole idea is to get people to register, so we're able to know your income, yada, 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 and then we're able to send you tax demands. Not necessarily a bad thing, but when it comes to the informal sector, what have you done for me lately? There you
Right,
go.
so that's a
Thank you very much for
question
that
thank you. That's a question that we asked a number of times yesterday. But just in terms of information, if you'd like to get more detail on this story, you can go to the Punch newspaper. It's a bit more robust, and they talk about how it would work. Saying obviously with 40%, after 3 months they can make for contingency issues purposes, they can actually access 40% of contributions, but 60% to be set aside for retirement. So that would be untouchable and it will be only accessed after retirement. And they've also explained the various ways in which the federal government had invested the pensions fund at the moment. All right, we'll go on to the Guardian for our next story here. And today I would like for you to take this story, please. Nigeria groans as medical professionals emigration worsens. Now, Nigeria is among the top 13 African countries that the citizens want to emigrate to Europe and other nations on account of poverty and on hardship, with 31% rate, says a survey recently conducted by Afrobarometer. It's a very full report. Can you please take us through very quickly?
It's a very long story too.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
extremely long. So I'd encourage everyone to, and anyone who's interested in these matters to.
Is it worth the length though?
Pick up. It is actually, because it provides, at least it adds context by providing data to what we know.
Yes.
Right. So I mean, it's glaring, it's in front of us, but now someone has actually gone to do a study, which is another thing we seem to abhor in this country. Studies and actual empirical data. So this story provides quite a bit of that, but focusing especially on the medical sector. But the truth is, the brain drain or extreme emigration has cut across all of society, across many different professions. We all feel it. I mean, especially in my professional space, we feel it. We know the nation as a whole, to be honest, is under the strain of this. There are even certain institutions who now deliberately say that they're not filling any more reference forms for the current biggest culprits, which is Canada. You get there's stories where almost entire departments empty out. But the UAE also is another favored destination in recent years. So all of that is going on. Look, like I said, the story provides data. It says that we're losing people at a rate of about 31%, especially in the medical profession, which is extremely worrying. You wonder what rate can we produce these guys. It mentions the positive effect it has, obviously, on producing remittances, because when these guys go to work abroad, then they send money back home. But do we want to live cap in hand? Do we want to be the nutcase on the global at the stage of nations, being the one collecting handouts from people who've gone abroad, and it's an indication that the quality that we produce is decent enough, right? Because very often you find these professionals struggling for expression here, but then going to thrive abroad. There are even instances where people, and there's such low trust in the system that you find people not wanting to undergo certain procedures here, only to travel abroad to realize that it was a doctor that they turned down here in from nation that's doing it over there as well. Because some of them go back and forth. My point is that there's some who haven't just emigrated totally, but actually practice across.
But many of the experiences and the access to quality equipment is abroad. So that's the difference.
It's a lot. I get it's a lot more than that. Yeah, but I mean, in certain instances, what I described would apply. So again, the story is still it's good. It points out the number of Nigerians working in the NHS is over 5,400 Nigerians, which is interesting to note. We represent about 3.9% of all foreigners. I'll say that Indians and other Southeast Asians are way ahead of us for representation in the NHS. It also points out our ratio of our patient to doctor ratio is abhorrent, to be honest. We are, I think, at 1 to 6, while the NHS WHO recommends 1 to 6. We have a ratio of between 1 to 4 to 1 to 5. The UK, where a large number of our nationals, has 1 to 3, so they're even way above the current trend. So.
Thank you very much.
But can I just say something about this brain drain, which Tunde was just talking about? This is not unusual. We really need. It's not new. We need to stop. We need to calm down and stop panicking about this. It's cyclical, right? Every so often, this will happen. It happened. They call it checking out. Was it doing Babangida stroke Abacha's time? It's happening again now. And no doubt it's going to happen in our children's time. It happens all over the world. There are people desperate to get out of the UK now because it's a colossal mess. So I think, yes, as some people come out of the UK, some of our people are going into the UK. That's migration and immigration.
Mrs. Mitri, I agree with you. However, right, look, immigration out of Africa into the West is different from emigration within the West.
Yeah.
Right, entirely different. People wanting to leave the UK because of Brexit, and slightly different things. There's a difference between, oh, I can't get that's my French cheese. It's different from I can't pay.
It's not the same thing.
hold on.
It's not
It's a
about
little-
French
it's a little
cheese.
different.
It's about employment as well. It's about economy.
I use that as an example, but the truth is, we can't be happy that every 20 years we lose a bunch of
I'm
people.
not saying we
When are
can be
gonna
happy
stand up?
about it, but I'm saying to you it's cyclical. So it's not something to get depressed about. At the same time, we should tidy up.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how high we go,
Yes.
there will be
So that's it,
migration.
fantastic. Tidy up.
All right,
That's
so
it.
Ms. Ireti,
Tidy
I
up.
do understand your point, but the reason why we obviously the story still comes up in the news is because it's something that we must pay attention to. And for Nigeria, I know brain drain has been, in the forefront for such a long time, but we must continue to talk about this until we see something being done, because currently, unfortunately, we do not even have enough doctors for our
Ayo.
own people.
At the time Babangida was in office and Abacha was, how old were you? It happened then.
Yes,
It
I'm
will
not-
happen again
I'm
after
not
your
deni-
children.
I'm
I'm
not
just saying.
denying
I'm
that.
just saying that we make it seem like it's so new. It is not new.
No one said
It
it's
is
new.
life.
All right, okay, we'll have to move
It
No
will
on.
be
one's-
cyclical.
no-
Life is cyclical.
I don't
Generational.
I don't think anyone says it's new though.
Yes, I don't. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I was just pointing out the fact that because it happens a lot of times, crime has been around for many years, but when it happens, we used to talk about it. So that's what I was just trying to
Not the
point out
same
there.
thing.
All right. Okay. So move on to the next story here. Nwaji, I'll come to you for this one. Buhari, I'll prioritize infrastructure development, and this news is in the New Telegraph. He was saying this while receiving the special envoy of the President of the Republic of Congo to the presidential villa. Can you please take us through this story?
Yeah, it's I just get the feeling, I get the sense that Buhari maybe is still on the campaign trail, and he's promising us things that, frankly speaking, act as though he's not an incumbent for a new president, and it's just rhetoric that comes out at a particular time and period. You now begin to say to the populace that I'm going to make sure that I focus on infrastructure. I don't even know what that means. From the perspective of what happened over the last 4 years, what major investments or drives or plans did we see towards any kind of total rehabilitation when it comes to Nigeria's infrastructure? When you now begin to look at statistics, and it's quite worrying, Ayo, that we have not invested on a national scale in any kind of infrastructure development, possibly since, and Tunde, please correct me if I'm wrong, since the Gowon era. Okay, so that's going on over 40 years.
Why, Tunde?
Yeah. I'm just
It's interesting. There's a woman
Very
sitting between
mysterious.
both of you. Why today? Don't worry.
Yeah.
But it's a good question, though.
All right, darling.
Nwaji, please go ahead.
Thank you.
with your-
So, but the point being is that, I appreciate the need, and when you now begin to connect a lot of these issues, especially with regards to what we were just talking about as to why you have this kind of capital into more intellectual flights out of the nation. It's as a result of, is the environment conducive enough for people to want to stay? You're going to see immigration because people evolve past certain things that they aspire towards, and maybe the environment doesn't necessarily give them those things that they're looking for when it comes to the kind of careers that they want to go into or the kind of quality of life that they want to have. And infrastructure is a gigantic thing, especially when you now begin to look at power, and I think that's connected to another story later on. But the main issue is that we need to stop having these rhetorics about doing your best or the plans that you're going to have. The country needs to see action.
Yeah.
I think Nigerians are somewhat exhausted in listening to promises over and over again. Can we see some major infrastructure developments? Can we see reform in the power sector?
How would you score him in his first term?
I
Actually?
don't want, trust me,
Let's move on.
absolute blasphemy
Okay.
you want me to do, because I don't think there's an adjective beyond F. So
All
let me
right.
just leave it.
Okay.
You
already
asked.
All right.
Okay. So
Thank you.
my point being is that we need to move from the particular capacity in which we operate now, where we're just giving empty promises, and go towards ensuring that we have actual progress
Yes.
with infrastructure development, so that we can stop having these conversations.
Thank you very much. We'll go to your messages. We have a few messages come through from WhatsApp.
This one here says from Adeba, you guys are doing a great job over there. Pension fund contribution must be by self-employed Nigerians is good news, and they should make it happen.
Yeah, from Vincent Mecca.
And this one here also says, what do you expect from people who went to study for about 7 years and a minister expects them to go to the farm? That's Damilala from Ikoyi.
All right. Henry Dixon says pension plan for self-employed. The plan should cut across all sectors. I have been working with the company for 3 years now without any pension plan, and each time I talk to my supervisor about it, he tells me to start saving for myself.
But it exists in all sectors.
It
does.
is. But
It's
so
not
I'm
a sector thing, it's a company.
It's, I mean,
Yes.
yes. So it's, but how many? You must say to him how many people in their organization,
So
as we said earlier.
So Henry Dixon, for many Nigerians, what you just mentioned, people are not aware that actually by law, the employers should provide a pension plan for them as long as they're over 5. And we see this a lot. It's about enforcement and actual implementation.
And actually, those who are also doing it are actually stealing the money from the. They're not remitting it properly. Actually, I know a lot of big organizations that are not remitting it.
All right, we'll go to our next story. Yeah, please keep your messages coming through. We'll try to take as many as we can on the show this morning. Well, Ms. Ireti, 150 children homeless as the Federal Capital Development Agency demolishes orphanage over family dispute. This is in Thisday newspaper.
Yes, this is really quite ugly. So it's a fight between sister and brother-in-law.
Yeah.
So Victoria Nkiruka Ezemoka, who opened the orphanage. So she has an orphanage, the primary school, the kindergarten. There's a church inside the compound, and I think there's a what you call it, where you keep chicken, a poultry farm.
Yeah.
There's a poultry farm, more than 1,000 birds, and there are food stores all on this same compound, 3 plots. She says she owns it. She inherited it from her husband. The brother-in-law came along and said, "No, it's not your husband's. It's mine." So the brother-in-law, apparently it went to court. But the fact is, the court hadn't made an order yet. Yet the what's it called?
FCDA.
The Development Control Department, which is this Abuja's equivalent of the one we have in Lagos.
Yeah.
They went along and they knocked it down. They said they had sent her many warnings and notices, etc., etc. And the last time, now this is where it gets dodgy, and you know that something really sinister has happened. Several children, some handicapped children, or should I say disabled children, are actually being, they're all homeless, they don't have anywhere to go. This is where it gets really sinister. So he says, while she insisted the case was still in court, hence there was no need for further action by any of the parties, including DCD, the department said there was already a court judgment on the matter, which documented evidence indicated that the case was thrown out due to absence of all parties. So if the 2 parties didn't turn up, right,
Yes.
the plaintiff and the defendant, right? So how then did you decide who is in the right and who owns the land, and you went ahead and knocked it down?
According to the government agency,
They said she needs to bring a document.
Yeah, apart from the documents, it also mentioned it served notices to her previously.
That's what I said earlier, Ayo. I said that earlier, that they said they had
just
served
one
notice.
second,
But my thing is,
I wanted to emphasize something else, because it's something that we've seen in Lagos and what we've talked about with buildings that collapse, with regards to them being served notice as you do not have permission to build. So despite your good intentions that she had to build orphanages, I'll just read a few things here. It mentioned that we visited the site, served all the relevant notices, beginning from stop work notice, quick notice to demolition notice, in line with our responsibility of ensuring strict implementation of the Abuja master plan. So despite it, apart from the court ruling, there's also the aspect of, does she even have a right to build in that place? So,
well, no, if it's, you see, this is what I'm saying to you, it's dodgy. For me, anyway, you might think that works. For me, it's dodgy, because this woman had built this thing, right?
Yes.
Before she built, did you give her planning permission? Because she built it after her husband had died.
Yes.
And then her brother-in-law is objecting. He's saying that the land belongs to him. It's 3 plots of land. Okay, today, all of a sudden you now get then you're saying you're serving a notice according to the Abuja master plan. As of the time she started building, you didn't realize there was an Abuja master plan at that point. Number one,
notice, the brother-in-law?
the DCD is after the brother-in-law had taken her to court to say the land belongs to him, and she's saying it doesn't. But even more so is even more so is that they're now saying, however, she should submit her documents so that it would be forwarded to the Department of Lands and Abuja Geographic Information System to enable them determine the authenticity and ownership of the papers and property. Ayo, that part you read really didn't matter. This is what matters. The fact is somebody's up to something really sinister, and this happens a lot to women, okay, where their husbands die, their in-laws come along and they want to take all the juicy parts of the steak, and she's saying, no mate, you're not having this. The
All right.
fact that a building as buildings have been knocked down, I hope she's got the strength, the finances and the effort to really fight them,
She's
because
still
it's wrong.
fighting. It's still
Well, I hope she can see it through, because
right.
we never know, do we?
All right,
Do you
thank you very
understand?
much, Mr. Esse, for that one. Let's move on to our next story real quick. This one from the Punch newspaper. I'm coming to this with you, Waji. It says, mixed reaction as Tinubu urges federal government to revisit the power sector privatization. And I mean, it goes on and on, really, but I would like to know what your thoughts are about this.
Yeah, it goes on and on to the break of dawn. Very long article. It's pretty much capturing some elements of Tinubu's birthday celebration, where he has this annual colloquium.
Yeah, colloquium.
Yeah. What is that?
It's basically the lectures. It's a lecture. It's a lecture and discussion, yada yada yada.
Fantastic. All right. So he goes on to say, and going back to the earlier point I talked about, how he's connecting it back to infrastructure development and also the issues with power generation in the country. And he's urging the federal government to focus on making sure we have larger capacity when it comes to power. Now, Ayo, you and I were discussing this right now downstairs, where we're talking about the current capacity that we operate at with regards to what we could use is about 4,000 megawatts.
Yes.
And our capacity is 12,500. So if you're expecting this particular government in the next 4 years to now double this capacity, according to what was being said in this article, you're looking at taking that particular capacity by double to about maybe 25,000 to see that we now get 8,000. And still that doesn't cover anything close to the needs that we have in order to now properly generate power that we need. So it's all well and fantastic to make these declarations and statements and commands with regards to what we do. But back to my point about where are the deliberate steps and actions to make these things happen. It's not just wishful or lofty thinking or just ideologies that are being sprouted out of nowhere. No, these things are factors you have to consider if you want things to be done. If you want to build a house, you have to ensure that you actually get concrete blocks and you put your foundations in place to actually do it. You cannot speak it into existence. It's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. I know there are a lot of spiritual and religious people in Nigeria that just believe that manna will fall from heaven and all problems will be solved. But I like to live in a very pragmatic, practical way. That if you want to get something done, do it yourself. So if you want power to actually come into existence, how about you begin to put the deliberate steps to make sure you get power in existence? Invest in the refineries. Make sure you privatize fully and deregulate the power sector. Encourage individuals to get the necessary investments to make sure the generating companies and the distribution companies are working harmoniously for us to have power. This is not rocket science.
I think that's what Tim is actually saying.
Treating it. No. That's
To,
but he's part of the problem.
privatize
But he's part of the
full-time.
problem, Kayode. I'm sorry. He's part of the problem because he belongs to the institutions and to the particular class that contribute to this issue that I'm referring to. So it's all well and good for him to say it, but kind sir, what are you doing about it?
All right.
And as
Thank
long
you.
as you operate in that capacity, I don't want to hear it. I want to see you do it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Waji. Okay, don't forget, Lagos, we're taking your messages on WhatsApp at 0809-444-0981. Let's move on to our next story real quick. This one from the Guardian newspaper. It comes to you today. It says, court revokes bail of IPOB's leader, Nnamdi Kanu. And of course, they're talking about the fact that the Federal High Court revoked the bill, and the trial judge, which is Justice Binta Yako, has ordered the immediate arrest of Kanu by the Inspector General of Police, and also he should be held on treasonable felony charges, even in absence, basically.
Cool. After successfully dodging Nnamdi Kanu stories for a bit,
And you get lumbered with
unable
it.
to dodge this one. Yeah. Okay, so I mean, it was inevitable.
Just be careful because the
They come for me. They come on.
hive are out there.
On Twitter. On Twitter.
I know, yeah.
My goodness, they come for me hard anytime I talk about Kanu.
They'll make it tribal because you're not in the
Okay, we're all in Nigeria.
One Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so it was inevitable that we would arrive here, to be honest, because Kanu has been MIA for the longest time, and trust me, he's not coming back, right? At least not by his own free will in any case. And again, like I said, is inevitable. The Justice Binta, who had granted him bail initially, has had to arrive at this position because neither his lawyer
Yes.
or
The
any
shorties.
of his shorties have been able to produce him or give any cogent reasons as to why he can't appear in court. The man is simply not turning up. And his lawyer tried, quite cynically and very oddly, tried to get is convinced the court to grant a short adjournment, for him to file reasons why he can't make it to court and all of that. Now, it's important to note she goes back to why she gave him bail to begin with, which was, let's recall that he was held almost indefinitely, was held for over a year without charge.
Yeah.
In her assessment, she looked at it and said, look, only the living can stand trial. Let this man go and receive medical treatment before he comes back. So therefore, can we say the government are the ones that have bit themselves in the derriere in this case? If they hadn't held him for so long under such poor conditions, maybe we would have had no proper, solid grounds to be granted bail, and then for him to have taken flight. To be honest, the man, and then we know his compound was attacked, and many on his camp said he had been probably even assassinated, and many of us believe that too, because he disappeared entirely, but then he pops up in Jerusalem, as he is.
As
he
you
says
would.
he is Jew.
Oh, the irony.
He says he is Jew, and everyone from his ethnic extract are Jewish. So and we don't have any extradition rules with Jerusalem, to the best of with Israel, sorry, to the best of my knowledge. So here we are.
Here we are.
Trial should begin in absentia when he will be convicted, and whenever he is picked up, maybe he pops up anywhere we do have rules, then we'll bring him back home.
All right, thank you very much for that one. Let's move on to our next story real quick. This one comes to you, Ajay. Lagos warns officials against collecting exam fees from pupils, and it's from the Punch newspaper. And this just reminds me of the Success at Lagos story, really.
Yeah, so for me, it's very clear and simple. It's a very short article that indicates what the Lagos state is warning, and just frankly speaking, I would love to see some criminal prosecutions for the individuals who are caught collecting exam fees from pupils, because if that is the law, that is the law. I appreciate that individuals have, especially the people that run these schools, have their particular justifications to their own perspective as to why they're collecting this money, because they indicate that they're not receiving the necessary funding, so they have to figure out some way to make it happen. That's a separate conversation you need to have with the government, and you need to leave these kids out of it. You just educate these children so they can have the kind of quality lives that they need to have. So if anybody's caught doing it, full prosecution of the law within the premise that allow you to do whatever you need to do, so that way we can just stop this particular behavior.
All right, thank you very much, Waji.
Next story to you, Tunde. It says here from the Punch newspaper: Nigeria denied foreign loans over herdsmen farmers clashes, and this comes generally from Lai Mohammed, and he's talking about how the government should, take up measures for publicity.
So, exactly, publicity is a cleanup. The headline makes it look like we denied taking loans because of herdsmen, and it's a bit funny. What it actually says is that because of the poor public image, or international image that we have been denied loan applications for loans to help in development and a bunch of other things. So he's talking about why it was necessary for them to undertake these efforts, go and have interviews with international news media to position us, say our side of the story as well. So which is right and good. It's the right thing, as we have little time. So, it's the right thing to do. I might have other things, but it's good.
Thank you, Tunde. All right, final one, just very briefly, just one word on this one, or a statement on this one, Miss Ireti.
From the Premium Times, yes, as we have mentioned, CGN condemns improper dressing of lawyers to court.
Yes, it did. But more importantly is, I don't know, he didn't give any examples, so I'm not even going to go into that. I was just ranting. What is important, though, is what one of the quotes here, where he says that a lot of young people, young lawyers, are trying to get away from, they don't want to be a judge, from being called to the bench, so to speak. And he says, taking up judicial appointment is a great sacrifice that we all should be able to take up for our fatherland. So I appeal to you to allow us to always be willing to serve as judges whenever such opportunity comes up. He says, this is because judges are not poor people, but a special breed of people who today stop with self-contentment and passion to serve, because he claims that the reason a lot of young lawyers do not want to be called to the bench is because they say that judges are poor. Well, we've since learned that that is not necessarily the case. Now, as for the wig and cloak, it's a shame we have to rush through this. We're still wearing the wig and cloak like we do in the UK, or British, should I say, and we're doing it here, and that's part of what he's lamenting. And so when it comes to dressing, it's time we actually got rid of that wig and cloak, because
That's
The
a
whole
big
idea
debate.
of it was fashionable in the old days, and it's not fashionable. It's because it was thought to
That's
be
a big
pretty.
debate for.
Big debate.
Yeah, it was supposed to be pretty. Actually, the fact is, the reason it came in back then was because they thought it was good looking, it was
Okay.
fashionable,
All right.
and they put powder on it. They need to stop it.
Thank you
Thank you
very
very much
much.
for that.
We have Chukajina here from WhatsApp from Marina. Please let those that sneak Nnamdi Kanu out of Nigeria silently please sneak him back because the elections are over and the court is looking for him.
More messages. This one here says, I'm really bothered about how the survey of brain drain and it's really staring at us in the face. The government is not in any way bothered. We can how it can be done differently, basically.
All right, then final one here. Nwaji is such a charismatic, passionate speaker. Well done, everyone. Thank you so much indeed for your comments. And we keep the conversation going on WhatsApp, on Twitter. Don't forget you can engage with our analysts this morning. You can find Tunde Okufi at Big Coops on Twitter, Miss Ireti Bakare-Yusuf at Sisi Oge Lagos, and of course you can find Nwaji at the Corporate MC on Twitter. We're still here. It's Kayode Baker and myself, and we still continue Smooth Breakfast. Next up, we have Locker Room 981 with Tega.
Oh.